not in the sense of an absence of serious training or commitment, but in the etymological meaning of the word amateur, from the French for lover. Might it be that forgetfulness of soul is the source of what Hutchins identifies as the chief characteristic of the higher learning in our time, namely its disorder? At the center of a Catholic university would be the articulation and dialectical development of the Catholic account of human nature. Such an account will have to integrate what we can learn about the nature and constitution of human beings from physicists, chemists, and biologists, historians, economists, and sociologists, with the kind of understanding of human beings that only theology can afford. Philosophy on this view is required not only to articulate the Catholic understanding of nature and human nature, but also to bring that understanding into conversation and debate with the conceptions of human nature often only implicit in the natural and social sciences. It also needs to be involved in ongoing dialogue and debate with rival ancient, medieval, and modern philosophical understandings of human nature. It seems to me also that this is one of the ways in which the contemporary Catholic university can fulfill one of John Paul II's persistent urgings to us all as Catholics, which is to engage the culture, to engage the wider culture, to engage it by drawing out and making explicit the implicit claims about human nature in various disciplines, in politics, in film, in the media. To make those things explicit and then engage them is one of the ways in which the university can fulfill that task that McIntyre says universities have given up on, asking the questions that plain persons ask. But it's also a way of fulfilling John Paul II's wish that we be more actively evangelical with respect to the culture. I think we ought to avoid too great an insistence on uniformity in our understanding of Catholic higher education. We need to have a conversation, it seems to me, about Catholic higher education and the diverse models. Indeed, it seems to me on this score, diversity in higher education is our friend. As Francis Oakley, in a wonderful book called The Community of Learning, the American College and the Liberal Arts Tradition, and one of the only recent books to take a fairly optimistic view of contemporary higher education, as he puts it, one of the great strengths of American higher education is the diversity of its institutions and the entrepreneurial spirit that drives the creation of new schools. But how should we construe the role of the good worker or of the entrepreneur in Catholic education? I'm not thinking mainly of fundraising or whether we ought to have business schools, and I'm not thinking of the increasing tendency to construe students as consumers, something that presupposes they already know what they want and that their thought and desire do not need shaping by the very education they are choosing. We need Catholic parents to be better consumers, tougher negotiators, who refuse to follow the herd of parents who mindlessly rattle off a list of acceptable schools. We need more faculty, staff, and administrators with something of an entrepreneurial spirit, with a passion not just for scholarship and teaching, or rather within that very passion, a passion for building a certain kind of institution. But this points us, I think, to an underappreciated component of the university, which is student life. Certainly, if student life, encompassing what goes on campus but outside the class, fosters habits of self-indulgence, moral relativism, and anti-intellectualism, then it will matter very little what goes on in the classroom. But curbing the sort of collegiate bacchanalian revelry depicted in Tom Wolfe's novel I Am Charlotte Simmons, or in that 1978 classic Animal House, that's not the only or the primary goal of a Catholic office of student life, we hope. There's a huge opportunity here, I think, for partnerships between student life and the academic side of the university, the goal of which would be to integrate these two parts, not just to integrate the parts of the curriculum, but to integrate what goes on in the classroom with what goes on outside, what goes on in the dorm. We might, in fact, even want to eliminate the word dormitory from our vocabulary, a place where students go to sleep or not when they're not in class. It's not just a matter of sleeping there. It's a matter of living and of the quality of that life. We have an advantage in thinking and deliberating about matters pertaining to the university as Catholics. If we think about Catholic higher education in a Catholic way, we will be saved from the temptation of a merely bureaucratic approach, or of an approach to what goes on in the classroom exclusively in terms of pedagogical methods, as if these could be separated from content or from the authoritative role of exemplary teachers. Indeed, as we think about higher education in a Catholic way, if we do it right, we will become participants and practitioners of Catholic education as we reflect on the parts of knowledge, the relation to the whole, and to the end of education, an end that is wisdom itself. Thank you.